with the very first step of how we go about building a brand for ourselves, our personal brand, and how we make sure that we are moving from the worker, which is the orange level, through to the yellow level, player. Work and play are the total opposite of each other. So we're going from foundation prism now in the spectrum levels up to the next level. By the way, if any of this that I'm sharing, you're thinking, what is Roger even talking about? Subscribe to this channel and go back and watch the videos from before, because that's where we're going through all the basics of getting your personal flow together, so we can now get on to this next section, which is now getting flow in the markets, which is a little bit like the difference going from worker to player. It's like the difference of going from being a spectator watching a football game to actually getting on the pitch. You know, as long as you're a spectator, you know, it's almost like you're anonymous. You know, you're there, and of course every big football game has a lot more spectators than players, but you're not committed in the same way. You can go get a hot dog, you can go get a drink, and the game's still on. Whereas the moment you actually get on the pitch, you need to have a position. Otherwise, you're going to be the one who's chasing the ball all the time. You're going to get in everyone's way, and so many people, they go from working in a job to getting to the point where they're now running a business, and they do that same thing. They think it's about the business, it's about the ball, it's about chasing after the ball to try and get it, or chasing after the money, wondering why you can never get to it. And it's because it's moving too fast. It's already passing from one person to another. The moment you say, okay, so if I'm going to now get on the pitch, I've actually got to set a position. So it's not about me chasing the ball, it's about me having a position which makes me valuable to the team. So they'll pass the ball to me. And that's when you start really getting the difference and the shift here. Brands, you know, why do people spend so much more money on a bag in Rodeo Drive or a pair of shoes than they would in other places? Is because each of them have a very specific brand that you're now really focusing at building attraction around. And so we're talking about your personal brand and your personal identity as step number one here. Identify your identity is step number one at the yellow level, where you're actually setting yourself up and your position on the team before you go out there trying to basically build the business and to focus on your products, right? That's all going to come, don't worry. But the most important thing, first of all, is your personal brand. I'm going to give you an example of this from my own personal life, and I'm taking you somewhere to show you the outcome of actually having set this for myself as well. So identify your identity. You're going to find that there's an entire mission on Genius U you can take. You can start by watching the video right here, and it will take you to this mission. And on that mission, you'll see that you can assess yourself in exactly the same way that I assess myself as well. Hi there. We're in the, thanks very much. We're in the Beverly, Wiltshire now, which is a hotel here, one of the really nice hotels here in Beverly Hills. And I'm taking you to a spot which is the outcome of me thinking, 4 years ago, what was my personal brand for me personally? And when I thought about that in terms of my identity, it doesn't start, as you see if you go through the mission, and you can take the assessment yourself, it doesn't start by you saying, you know, what do I want to be? It starts by you saying, well, who's already living the kind of life or achieving the kind of things that I would love to be living and achieving several years from now? I remember when I was asking myself that question 4 or 5 years ago, there were names that were coming up that I was associating with and saying, well, if I was connected with those kind of people, how awesome would that be? There were people like Carl Jung, who, as you know, with psychometric testing, was really kind of like grandfather of psychometric testing. Or someone like, Joseph Campbell, who's somebody who, again, took the concepts of the past, then started looking at how they're going to impact us for the future. And then that led to, people like Buckminster Fuller. You know, I went and looked at Buckminster Fuller's Wikipedia article to say, well, how was he described? How do people see him? How could you summarize yourself in, you know, several words or in a sentence? And what I found was that he was described as a futurist. And this is a time when I didn't really think much about the idea of being a futurist. But when I thought about that, I thought, well, you know what? That's exactly what I want to be doing for my life, being able to have an ability to help entrepreneurs, not just by looking at the past and supporting them in their natural flow, by looking at the future and where that's going. And so as a result of that, I then started connecting up with people in the industry. So your actions get informed by your identity. Who are the top 3 people that you would focus at? We're just moving right now coming into a room here where as a result of me having gone on this path, I started up the Fast Forward Your Business tours. I got connected to other futurists out there, which included Peter Diamandis, who is the founder of the X Prize. The X Prize is right over here because Peter is now here in Beverly Hills. So here's the X Prize. If you've seen Virgin Galactic, that was inspired by the very first X Prize, the Ansari X Prize, which Burt Rutan won. And Burt Rutan is actually now the developer with Richard Branson for Virgin Galactic. What we're seeing in here is an entire room of futurists and entrepreneurs, where I've come here to Beverly Hills to basically see how the futurists and the entrepreneurs are working together for a new tomorrow. So here is Salim Ismail, who wrote Exponential Technologies, on stage with Peter Diamandis, right? Yeah, right?
10 years ago, the CEO looked at their 80,000 person company
and
decided that he could not
the most awesome thing about setting your identity of who you want to be is, and then focusing at how you define who you're going to be. And then from there, focusing at who's in your team. Like, I'm super lucky today to have people like Peter as part of my team, from the point of view that I'm supporting him as a partner for his organization now. He's a mentor to me. And this is the most important key thing. You can't do it on your own. You're going to be playing the game. You've got to start by getting off the stands and onto the pitch. And then what you need to do is you've got to get focused at how you're going to be of value to the team. Not how do you chase the ball, but how you're going to be of value to the team. And once you do that, you start finding that you have the support of all the people around the world who actually want you to be successful, because your success also becomes part of their success as well. So that's what I wanted to share. That I'm sharing with you my journey, what I'm up to right now, and how everything that I'm doing and the products that I've got, the companies that I'm involved in, has everything to do, first of all, with making a decision. What am I going to make a stand for? Who do I want to be for this story in my life? And for you, what story do you want to tell? What do you want people to be looking back at years from now and seeing that as a result of you making that stand on who you were and making that stand, just like an author in a story, that take that idea of an author, you're writing that story for yourself, that you become that authority. Identity is about you creating authority in your life as to what you're going to make a stand for. Because as they say, until you make a stand for one thing, you'll fall for everything. So go ahead, subscribe, go and have a look at the video, which is right down below. This is all about you and your ability to identify your identity. And we're going to see that in the next couple of videos, we can go from that one step of actually having a position on the pitch to then being at a point where you can now start to build your business and your products around who you are. Until the next episode, I hope you've enjoyed this one. We will catch up with you later.